Peace, y'all. ICC 812 here. Retron 5. Picked one up. Got it down the street. A little place called 2nd and Charles. Not too bad. Wheeled and dealed. Traded some old Xbox stuff that I never used. Never planned on using. It was just good trade-in stuff. So anyways, Retron 5. Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Genesis, and Famicom. All in one. Outputs an HDMI. That's always good. As you can see. It does come with a wireless controller. I believe it's a Bluetooth. Charges through the USB. So let's get down to it. Here's the actual system itself. Ports on the side. You have Genesis, Nintendo, and Super Nintendo. They have little rubber plugs that you can cover. So that's good. Keep them dust free. Keep them nice, in good condition. I like that. So there's 2 sets of ports. So you have 2 Nintendo, 2 Super Nintendo, and 2 Genesis. In the back there's a spot for the wireless controller, which is right here. I never use the wireless controller because I like to use the actual OEM. I don't know if I'll ever use this. But anyways, it can sit back here if you would like it to sit back here. Again, I'm probably just going to keep it in the cardboard, keep it put away. Here are the ports on the top. You have Genesis, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Famicom. Here on the front of the console, you actually have the Game Boy Advance slot. There's the power button. On the back of the system, you have an SD card slot, HDMI, USB, and the AC port. The console itself, it's all plastic. Pretty good build on it. Nice and sturdy. I would say I wouldn't want to drop it, but I don't think you want to drop anything made nowadays. The pins are very tight on the Nintendo and the Genesis. The Super Nintendo one slid in pretty good, at least on this one that I have, and the Famicom slid in pretty well. The Game Boy Advance slid in perfectly. Next, we have some games that I've tested just for compatibility issues to see how well this works with games. Ninja Gaiden Trilogy worked, no problem at all. Kunio-kun Super Dodgeball, that also worked great. Mario RPG worked. Inindo and Donkey Kong Country. These are all the Super Nintendo games I tried, as well as the only Super Famicom game I tried, but same thing. As long as it works, it works. For Nintendo, the Power Pack did not work. This is the Compact Flash Retro Zone. As you know, you put in a Compact Flash memory card with a bunch of ROMs on it and it boots up in the console. This did not work on the Retron 5. The RacerMate Challenge 2 did not work, but this is a pretty rare game. I don't think anybody's going to be playing this. It also comes with an adapter, which I have in the other room. It will not plug into the Retron 5, as most adapters will not, if it uses both ports. Here is the piece for the RacerMate. As you can see, it plugs in side by side. That will not work because the ports are on each side of the console. So even if the game did work, it's not going to physically work because the ports. Next, Super Spike V-Ball World Cup and Super Spike V-Ball did not work. These games, it worked on my OEM Nintendo, but they're not working on the Retron 5. Afterburner, I have 2 copies. One did not work, one did work. And Gauntlet did not work. I don't know if it's something just with the Tengen carts or what's going on here, but 2/3 of the Tengen carts I tried did not work. Castlevania, Super Dodgeball, Skate or Die, Dragon Warrior all worked, no problems at all. So most Nintendo games worked if they were not third party. Bible Adventures did work, however. so I don't know what's going on there. Game Boy Advance, I tried Tactics Ogre, Breath of Fire, Need for Speed. They all worked no problems. Took a little bit longer to load these ROMs onto the system, as these are bigger games. The Genesis carts I tried, I didn't even try this cart right here on my Altered Beast game. The cart is smashed up and the pins are too tight in this. If I put this in there, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it out in one piece. I tried Golden Axe, X-Men, and Sonic. All worked no problem. So as far as Super Famicom, I tested Dragon Quest VI, Final Fantasy V, and Ranma Super Battle. Those all worked completely flawless, no problems. The saves that I had on the cartridges loaded as well. That's good. These 3 games right here, these are the Star Wars trilogy. I only tried the first one. I figured trying the first one should be good enough. So the first one worked. I also tried Final Fantasy III, Illusion of Gaia, Zelda, Star Fox, Castlevania, Killer Instinct, and Chrono Trigger. All of these games work just fine. No problem with any of those. James Pond, NHL 96, Joe Montana Sports Talk, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Tecmo Super Bowl, and Desert Strike all worked. No problems with any Genesis games at all so far. Here, Famicom game, Obo Chama-kun. I haven't really played it too much. This one here, Ge no Kitaro Yokai Dai Makyo. And this one right here, Final Fantasy III, Famicom. Played just fine. As far as compatibility, I would give it probably an A. Just because the unlicensed games kind of are iffy. But I give it an A, a solid A. Right here, we're going to take a look at some of the loading times. A lot of people don't know when you pop in the cartridge like this. See, it downloaded it. When you pop in the cartridge, it downloads the ROM image to the console, and then it plays. That was Golden Axe on the Genesis right there. As you can see, it only took a few seconds. Right here, this is Super Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo. May have taken a second longer, but not much longer than the Genesis. Those games are about the same size. Next, we're going to do a Nintendo game, Cobra Triangle. As you can see, that took only about a second. Nintendo games are quite small. They're not big at all. Obviously, Super Nintendo, has 16 bits instead of 8 bits, so it's a little bit more. Here, it's a Famicom game, Final Fantasy III. It is an RPG, so it's a little bit bigger than your average, Famicom game. But still, that only took, 2 to 3 seconds tops. Not long at all. Nothing to complain about. Here, there's a Game Boy game, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. As you can see, that only took a few seconds. Here, we're going to go with the Game Boy Color game. Takes a little bit longer, as you notice. But, the game's better. It has color. First things first, it actually has color. But there's Tomb Raider on the Game Boy Color. Took a little bit longer. That's been the longest load time so far. But next, we're going to go with the Game Boy Advance. And as you can see on this one, it takes some time. Game Boy Advance, it's probably the most advanced game. As far as graphics wise and everything, on the Retron 5. Nintendo games, they're, a quarter of a meg. Super Nintendo games can be, from 2 to 5 megs or so. Genesis games about the same as Super Nintendo. And yeah, Game Boy Advance. This is when, you get up to, 5, maybe 6, 7 megabyte games, if I remember correctly. So here's Ice Age 2, the Meltdown. Not bad though, considering every other system loads relatively fast. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. It's not going to waste too much time. But yeah, I think it's cool. Retron 5 gets a B for loading times. We have some sound enhancement settings, including bass boost and treble boost. I'm gonna turn these on, and then on the second clip, I'm gonna turn them off. Let you hear a small sample. I like the enhancements. A+. On this little section here, I'm just going to show off some of the filters as far as the video. No video filter looks pretty pixelated. This is how it's supposed to look though. This is the original look, but on the tube TV you can't really notice, or you don't really notice the difference. 2X Sal, it's actually pretty good. This is probably one of my favorite video filters out of all of them. There's only about, I think, 7 filters total. The Super 2X Sal, I don't notice too much of a difference. Maybe I'll roll with this one a little bit, because you know, with the 2X Sal being one of my favorites, maybe the Super 2X Sal can hold it down. But yeah, Super Eagle, I don't know. There's really not much of a difference in all of these filters besides having no filter and having some filter. The dithering, the blending, the blurring, that may be a little bit different. Like this Scale 2X, it's a little bit more pixelated than the last couple. It's a little bit better than the no filter though. The LQ2X, this looks pretty close to the original actually. On a tube TV, this might be kind of good, but the Retron 5 does not have component, does not have composite. Unless you get a HDMI converter, you're not going to be able to get this on a tube TV, but then that would completely defeat the purpose of having a Retron 5 in my opinion. Here's the HQ2X, looks pretty good. They have some video filters that I like, and it is HDMI, so I'll give it a B+. This last part right here, we're going to talk a little bit about the settings on the console. We've already covered the video settings and the audio settings. One thing I didn't mention about the video settings, it does have an option for scan lines as well as all the previous filters I showed earlier. But what I really want to talk about down here is automatically import saves and being able to import and or export your saves from the cartridge to the console and from the console back to the cartridge. So this allows for many different things. For example, if you have 2 cartridges, as I have 2 Dragon Warriors, one has a bad sticker, one has a good sticker. But my save that I've had for the last 15 years is on the cartridge with the messed up sticker. So I put that on the console, and then I put it onto the cartridge with the good sticker. So now I have my save on a good cartridge. Another thing you could do, for example, you have an old 25-year-old Nintendo games, let's say Zelda. You have a save on there. You would really like to have your save. You could take your Zelda save off the cartridge, change the battery, and put your save back on the cartridge. Then you have another 20-25 years. That little setting right there is a great addition. I really like that. I give that an A+ for sure.